Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever wonder why sometimes we humans just seem to click with each other, acting like a perfectly in sync team? And other times, well, not so much, like why does cooperation sometimes break down completely, even when it seems like everyone should be benefiting? Well, this new study might have a clue. And it all comes down to something called synchronization. Imagine you are in a big group and you need to decide whether to help someone out or just look out for yourself. How do you decide? You probably look at what others are doing, right? You try to perceive if they're the cooperative type or the selfish type. This study explores a fascinating idea. What if our very rhythm, our timing, how in sync we are with each other, actually shapes this perception and in turn drives whether we all cooperate or just go our own way? They built a sort of synthetic society of agents like little digital people to find out. It's a really cool look at how individual perception can lead to collective cooperation, or the lack of it. So, the big question these researchers wanted to answer was this: how does our internal timing, our synchronization, influence whether we choose to cooperate or defect, especially in large groups where we can't always see what everyone else is doing? They suspected that when we're in sync with others, we probably perceive them as more cooperative. And that makes us more likely to cooperate too. Think about it like a band playing an instrument. When everyone's playing together in sync, it sounds great. But if one person is offbeat, it's chaos. The same might be true for social interactions. To test this, they use something called agent-based modeling. Basically, imagine creating a virtual world filled with digital individuals, or agents. Each agent has its own rules, its own way of behaving, and they interact with each other within this virtual society. It's a powerful way to study complex group behavior because researchers can control so many variables and see what emerges. In this study, each agent was like a little oscillator, kind of like a metronome. They had their own natural rhythm, and they could influence each other's rhythms. This is where the Kuramoto model comes in. The Kuramoto model is a famous way to describe how many simple oscillators, like those metronomes, can start to synchronize. When these agents synchronized, the researchers wanted to see if that synchronization translated into that perceived cooperation they were looking for. Then, these agents played a virtual version of a classic game theory problem called the prisoner's dilemma. In a prisoner's dilemma, you can either cooperate with someone or defect. If you both cooperate, you both get a decent reward. If one of you defects and the other cooperates, the defector gets a big reward and the cooperator gets nothing. If you both defect, you both get a small punishment. It is tricky because the best individual choice is often to defect. But if everyone defects, everyone ends up worse off. The researchers wanted to see if synchronization made agents more likely to choose that cooperative option. Here's where it gets really interesting. They found that when the agents were more synchronized, the synchronization level was used to figure out a perceived cooperation probability for each agent. The higher the synchronization, the higher the perceived cooperation. Then, based on this perceived cooperation, the agents decided whether to play the prisoner's dilemma cooperatively or selfishly. They also looked at a few other factors. One was memory. If an agent had a bad experience, could it remember it and change its behavior? Another was the cooperation barrier. This is like how hard or tempting it is to cooperate in the game itself. Higher barriers make it harder to cooperate. And finally, they looked at network topology, meaning how the agents were connected. Were they all connected to everyone, a complete network, or only to a few neighbors like a small world network? Scroll figure 2, the proportion of cooperation with and without synchronization node. Average cooperation rate at different synchronization levels with red circles, and without blue triangles, the effect of synchronization on perceived cooperation in complete left panel and small world right panel networks.